What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Christian Hanna Horror here today with top 5 horror movies of 1987. Are we already up to 87? Good lord. Well, this is going to be a tough one for sure, but I think we all know that 1988 is going to be the clash of the slashers because we got a lot of slashers from the main three. We got slashers from Freddy, Jason, and Michael, so that's going to be very interesting. I should be having a guest, Kaylin, back in here for that to have two views for you guys. But I'm holding it down today for 1987, and as always, your guys' lists are awesome. It's so great. You guys have been so awesome over this series, and we're not done, and we may keep going through the 90s a little bit. We'll see. If you guys want it, we're going to do it. Okay, so without further ado, 87 was tough because I found myself putting in movies that I kept trying to say, Christian, but maybe you just like that one more so than it's really good. But I was like, you know what? No, these movies do have merit and they're good movies, and I just don't think they get enough attention. So without further ado, let's get into it. For me, in 1987, I'm going to put number 5 for a movie that I love called Creepshow II. Now, it's a sequel to one of the greatest, George Romero, Stephen King movies ever made. But Creepshow II, upon rewatching it, it's made with, love and charm, and it's got some really cool tales. Old Chief Woodenhead is a great little opener. It's a great little horror movie, and it really does still capture that comic book like world that, we like to see from these movies. It's not as big as a production. It's not as, as over the top as the original Creepshow, but it's got good little stories in it that are great for that comic book feel. So for me, number 5, I did give it to Creepshow 2 because I think it's a good entry in the series without a doubt. So coming in at number 4 is a movie that I sing its praises pretty often, and I just don't think it gets enough love. And it's another I like to use this phrase, the little movie that could. And it pushed boundaries and it got crazy. That's a movie called The Gate. That's right. The Gate is this, it's almost like, I don't know, it's not a zombie movie. It's not a paranormal movie. It's not a, necessarily a creature feature. I don't know what you call The Gate. And that's a good thing because The Gate just throws all kinds of crazy stuff in there. And boy, oh boy, you got this story, this young kid and his sister, and they've got the house for the weekend. The parents are out of town, and then the buddy is coming over, and he's the heavy metal friend, and he's like, dude, listen to this record backwards. And then they open up this portal to hell in their backyard, and obviously when you open something up, things are liable to enter in. So things get a little wild in 1987's The Gate, and it gets, by the end of the movie, you think that it's, they've thrown everything in except the kitchen sink, but then the kitchen sink comes in, and it's great. It's got great special effects. It seems like a movie that was a little lower budget than typical, but boy, oh boy, The Gate just never fails to impress me every time I watch it. Coming in at number 3 is a movie called Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is, arguably the fan favorite, which I can see why, because it definitely pushes the envelope. While Evil Army of Darkness is my personal favorite, Evil Dead 2 pushes everything that Evil Dead, the first one, did to its extremes and to its limits. The character of Ash is definitely, what we know his personality and what we know him to be like is usually, from that movie. The way we know that character to act and portray himself the way, Bruce Campbell did, we really personify that with Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi pushes the envelope in Evil Dead 2, and it's blood galore. It's funny because there's times while I watch Evil Dead 2 when I kind of get a little creeped out by it, even though it's more so like this over-the-top comedic horror movie. But once again, the imagery and the look of the things, some of these people in this movie are just horrifying. So Evil Dead 2, without a doubt, it's Sam Raimi's calling card. I think, that's one of the main movies people think about when they say Sam Raimi is Evil Dead 2. So, all right, coming in at number 2 for me, I want to welcome his first entry in my list. I believe it's the first entry from this gentleman in my list. Clive Barker's Hellraiser. That's right. The first Hellraiser is still one of the most incredible, poetic, but horrifying horror movies I've ever seen. I mean, you got to admit, Uncle Frank in this movie, where he's just bludgeoned, and he comes back to life through the power of the what's the name of the box? I forget the name of it in the movie, but you know, he comes back, and Uncle Frank's story of trying to regain control and using the daughter's mom or stepmother, excuse me, to get her to kill, to get more power to come back to life, and things get crazy, and then they summon the Hell Priest, as he's called, or Pinhead, as everybody knows him as, and then the Cenobites come, and that famous horrifying line of "You summoned the box, we came." Oh man, just imagine if that really happened. It would blow my mind. It would just horrify me to no end. Hellraiser, an undoubted classic, and probably Clive Barker's best film he's ever done, period. I want to give some honorable mentions. I want to give an honorable mention to a movie that almost made the list, and arguably you really could still say it's top 5. You can interchange it somewhere with one of these movies. Prince of Darkness, a fabulous, fabulous John Carpenter movie. A movie called Near Dark. Obviously, I'm saying this as an honorable mention, and some of you may have it on your list. I'm just not a big fan, and there's no disrespect. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I have Lost Boys at honorable mention. It's just not a movie for me. I don't really like it. So, and that's just me. I'm not saying it's bad. It just doesn't match me. I want to give a shout out to a movie called Monster Squad. I want to give a shout out to a movie called House 2: The Second Story. I want to give a shout out to a movie called Blood Diner. I want to give a shout out to a movie called The Hidden. And I want to give a shout out to a movie called Curse, among others. My number one of 1987 is one of the greatest slashers. Actually, no, I rephrase that because it's not a slasher. It's so much more than that. Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, the best entry in the series, in my opinion, to the illustrious and great franchise of A Nightmare on Elm Street. But Dream Warriors just hits everything on every cylinder. Great characters where you introduce new characters that you love while having older characters that you love just as well, making you love these newer characters. It's one of the best stories ever told in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Chuck Russell hits it out the park. I almost wish I could have seen Chuck Russell direct, the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Although Wes Craven is the king, and I love Wes, I always preferred Chuck Russell's style of directing, and he went on to do great things, such as The Mask for Jim Carrey. So it just goes to show that Chuck Russell knew what he was doing, even at that younger stage in his career. And while Nightmare on Elm Street is it's undoubtedly, it's on record, it was a quote unquote a hell to make the movie. Chuck Russell is a director for every intents and purposes. He knows how to direct a film. He knows how to take control, and he knows how to get what he wants on film. So Dream Warriors, one of the best in horror movie history, especially when it comes to one of the big icons of horror. Dream Warriors is just that good to me. So that's it, guys. This is my list for top 1987, top 5 1987. I've got some interesting videos lined up from here till 1988, but I know you guys are ready for 88 just as much as I am. It's going to be a juggernaut of a task to do because, boy, 88 is the Clash of the Titans. But you might see that gentleman right over there in this top 1988. We'll see. Until next time, this is Christian Hanna Horror. Drop your list below. See you guys later.